just a little while longer. Hold on. Just a little while longer. Hold on. Just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. Pray on. Just a little while longer. Pray on. Just a little while longer. Pray on. Just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. You got to fight on. Just a little while longer. Fight on. Just a little while longer. Fight on. Just a little while longer. Everything will be all right. Everything will be all right. I've lived my life holding on just a little while longer. Everything that I put my hand to always take time. But I hold on just a little while longer. Because I know that everything is going to be all right. My name is Harriet Tubman. And I was born in the state of Maryland. A state that was truly kissed by God. A state that God blessed so much with the fruit of the land and of the water. But the state had a stain against it, a stain of slavery. I was born in that state of slavery. Didn't stay one though. When I was born, they called me Arminta Ross. And like so many others, I had these stripes against me. I had the stripe of being black, the stripe of being born into slavery, and the stripe of being born a girl child. And one would think, with all these odds against me, that I wouldn't make it. But I did. I made it through all types of trials and tribulations, but I made it. And I know that I made it only because God was with me. This land, this beautiful land, been on it before. The Howland invited me in so many times during my trials and tribulations, during my struggles to try to raise money to help others. Right here. Right here. I'll tell you a few things that happened to me on my journey. Things that I sometimes question and ask God about why these things have to happen to me. Why did these things have to happen to me? And God give me the answer. But let me tell you, being a black child born into slavery. There was no way to learn to read or write. Everything was from toil, sun up to sundown. I remember when I was about 6 years old, maybe about the age of some of these. Surely they're sitting right here. My master hired me out to work. 6 years old. So I went to live with this missus. And what I was supposed to do was to watch the missus baby. And when the missus is trying to sleep, I'm supposed to keep that baby quiet. Well, everything was well during the day because I would play with the baby. But come nightfall, when everything was quiet, when everybody else was getting ready for bed to go to sleep, I was supposed to watch the Mrs. Baby. The baby's crib was at the foot of the Mrs. bed. And she always made sure that she had this whip right above her head. So she settled in for the night. And she said to me, "You keep that baby quiet." So I sat down by the crib and I began to rock that cradle and rock the cradle. It's dark and it's quiet and I'm about 6 years old. I really don't know how old I am, but I figure around 6 years old. And I'm rocking that cradle. In the silence, in the darkness, I fall off to sleep. And when I fall off to sleep, that motion of that cradle stops. And you know what happened when the cradle stopped rocking? Baby wakes up. Baby began to cry and cry. And the missus wakes up and she said, "Minty?" Because that's what they call me then. "Didn't I tell you to keep that baby quiet?" And so she reaches up above her head and she brings the lash down. And she begins to whip and to whip and lash and lash. And she did not care where those licks landed. I have scars to show where those licks landed. And the whipping was bad enough. But what she said to me, a 6-year-old, she said, "Minty, I'm sending you back home. You ain't never gonna be good for nothing." 6 years old. Never gonna be good for nothing. That stayed up here with me. That stayed right here with me. I ain't never gonna be nothing. Went back home. Master sent me off again. This time to work outside. This time to check for muskrat traps. Muskrat traps are set along the side of a riverbank near the water where the muskrat build their little nests. And I was supposed to check the trap that they set for the muskrat, because they take the muskrat hide for clothes. It gets cold in Maryland. And a slave child may not have shoes. And it may not be warm enough for the winter. So while we are outside, most of the time we're cold. But during the winter, when the muskrats are nice and plump and fat, there's a thin layer of ice on the water. And I was supposed to go down in that water and check the muskrat tracks. So one day, as I checked the tracks, there is a trapped muskrat. And muskrat have these very sharp claws, and they will struggle if you get near them. But I am supposed to check those traps, and I'm supposed to take those muskrats out and bring them back home. I carry with me a little bag, a little burlap bag, so that when I did catch one, I can slip it into the bag and I won't have the scratches and the bites from the muskrat. Went to the edge of the water and I put my foot out and I snatched it back. It's really cold. I put my foot in the water and I snatched it back again. And I say, Minty, you got to go and check that trap. You got to get that muskrat out, because if you don't, you're going to get a lashing. So I went in and I put that muskrat in that bag, and now I have it. Now I have it. But then I look at that muskrat, and it was struggling. It was struggling, trying to be free. And I looked at it again. And you know what I did? I let that muskrat go. And I let that muskrat go, knowing that I might get a whipping if they find out. But I let it go because I know what it feels like to want to be free and can't. Come to me, that freedom should be for everybody. So one day when I was about 14 years old, I saw a slave running for his life. Seems like to me he was running for his life. Overseer was after him. And the overseer said, catch that boy, catch him. And I was where I could catch him. And I said, no, I'm not going to catch him. I'm going to let him go. I moved so he could go by. Well, that overseer, he picked up this weight, this iron weight, and he chunked it, hit me on the head. I don't know if he hit me because that's what he wanted to do, or whether he hit me by accident. But either way, it put me under for a long time. I still got this injury right now on my head, and sometimes I fall asleep. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but sometimes to me, I wonder how I made it. Because during the time that I would run away, when I ran away to my freedom, I could have fallen asleep anytime, anywhere, crossing over rivers, going through the woods, climbing up. I could have fallen asleep then, but I didn't. Then I know that the hand of God was with me. But the first time I said I was going to run away, I was married. Husband's name was John. I must have been about 27 years old then. And I said to my husband, I'm going to run away. Let's run away together. He, being a free colored man, didn't want to go. So I take that trip myself. I said, I got to go. So I went on my way. Had some folks to help me on the Underground Railroad, take me in, feed me, take me to another spot where somebody else would take me in and feed me, till I finally reached Pennsylvania line. Free state. Oh, free state. The feeling that comes over you when you walk into freedom. I walked into freedom, and it seemed like the sun was a different color. It seemed like the trees were different. It seemed like everything was different. And the people, they take me in, and they give me clothes and food, and let me rest up. It helped me to find some work. I could take care of myself. I was free, but I was alone. My family was still in bondage. And I know that I had to go back. And some of my friends said to me, Harriet, you can't go back. You can't go back, you just run away. If you go back, they might even kill you. But you are going to be in bondage again if you go back. I said, I got to go back. I'm still not free. Because I don't have my family here with me. So I went back. With the help of some good folk that God put in my path, I went back. And I went to pick up my husband, and he had moved on. He got himself another wife, which really don't mean that much when you're a slave. Your husband is not really your husband. Your wife is not really your wife. Because you could be sold off anytime. Your children are not your children. They could be sold off anytime. But you hold on to whatever it is that you can. Just a little while longer. You hold on to what life gives you in that moment. But nothing is safe. So he couldn't go. So I take some other people with me. And I keep coming back and taking more people with me. And I keep coming back and taking more people with me. But with the help of people who God put in my path to help me along the way. On some of those trails when I get out there, some of the folk, they get tired. They get hungry. They get scared. And they want to go back. They said, we better go back. And I said, no, you can't go back. You can't go back. Because you go back, the master get the whipping on you, and they make you tell all the secrets of all those people who are trying to help us. So you can't go back. And so one fellow say, I'm going back. I said, no, you can't go back. So I pulled my pistol. And I said, before I let you go back, you die. You can't go back. But then the folk was telling me, why you keep going back? Why you keep going back? when you tell other people they can't go back? Well, I keep going back to get more people. And get more people. And bring them into freedom. Traveling those trails in the winter. All the way up through Pennsylvania. All the way up through New York State. All the way to Canada. Because a law was made. There is no such thing as a free state. If you run away, they come and get you from wherever you are. And if you're a free person, no matter what color, if you know of a runaway slave and you don't tell, they can lock you up too. No freedom unless you're in Canada. So I had to take people all the way up to Canada in the dead of winter. Little or no clothes, little or no food, except for what people help us out with. Then I asked God, I said, why? Because I talked to God and God talked to me. And everything I do because God said go or God said stay. So I asked God, why? Why me? Why us? No answer. No answer. So I keep going. I keep going. No matter what, I got to keep going. Because freedom means so much to me. Now, the head and the passing out and the cold and the frostbite and the starvation, went through all of that because of freedom. And I know that even though there were some white people who were supposed to be free, they weren't all free either. And especially the women folk, they weren't free either. They were better off than me, but they weren't free. So I decided I'd talk about that too. Why? God made us all equal. Why? God still didn't answer my question about why. But folk helping me along the way. And I thought about that woman that said, I was never going to be nothing. But in thinking back, I said, okay. I run away. I come back and I steal their property. He said I was a thief. So I come back and I get that property. Not only that, God blessed me with these people who helped me to get a home right there in Auburn. And I help people who ever want and need help. Come on up and I'll help you. Put you in my place and let you have what I have. My place was just not my place. I didn't do anything just for me, just for old Harriet. I did it for everybody who needed help. One of my friends said to me, Harriet, I'm going to give you this money. And I know you're raising funds to help everybody you can. But I'm going to give you this for you. I want you to have it. I don't want you to give it to anybody else. I said, well, if you give it to me, I'm going to help somebody. If I have some bread and you don't have it, I'm going to give you a piece of my bread. And if you don't have it, I'm going to give you a piece of my bread. And it is my hope that with your piece and your piece that you will give a piece. And if everybody start to give it a little bit of what they have, then everybody will have something to chew on. But why just take from me and not give to anybody else? Well, they let me go with that. Because they know what I was going to do was give to those people who need. I was going to give it to them. Well, the struggle went on. And then the war comes. Oh, the war. The war that pit brothers against brothers and sisters against sisters. The war that changed America. It comes. And I wanted to be right in the middle of it. Because it meant freedom for brothers and sisters. See, my friend said to me, you can't go to war. You're a woman. And not only that, you're a black woman. Black men were not allowed to fight. So where do you think you're going? I'm going to war. And I'm going to put my hand to whatever plow that needs to be plowed. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going. They give me special permission. I go down there in Carolina, South Carolina. And they say to me, Harriet, we know you can help your people. So you go and you talk to them and you tell them what we need and help them to help you find out what's going on around here in the area. And you can find out where all of these traps, and we can be a spy. It's okay. So I go to these people and they don't trust me. They don't trust me. They don't know me. It's like I was speaking a different language. And I told them, my people, I said, they don't even know what I'm saying. And I don't know what they're saying. Because they were down there speaking a different kind of language to me. But I went anyway. I found some scouts, and we went around and we looked all over and find where people have their traps and where people have their little ammunition and everything. And we go back and we tell where they are. So they let me man a ship. And I get on that ship and we go down the Cambay River and we lobbied shells all over the place. And then we tell the people, you're free. Come on, you're free. And so they come a running. They come a running from every spot they could, bringing everything they could with them. Loaded up the boat. One time I thought we were going to sink. But they come on aboard and we take them to safety. But you know what they call those people that they help to save? Call them contraband. Which means that they belong to the enemy. And now we take what they intend to do with them. What they intend to do with contraband that happen to be human beings. What do? Some of them, they sent to war. They let them fight. But they didn't let them fight together. Separate. Black Union soldiers, white Union soldiers. And they send me off to help the black Union soldiers. War. War. All for the sake of freedom. But I'd never seen anything like that. People coming with hands and arms and legs missing. But wasn't so much the shelling that killed so many people. It was disease from the heat and the flies and the mosquitoes that killed many of them. So I turned from being spy and scout to nursing. Because somebody got to take care of these soldiers. And they would come in waves. And all we had was these little basins of water to try to clean them up. And you take and clean up a few, and then the water is just like blood. And they're dying. And they're suffering. And some are still hungry. The war. And I always think what we go through to keep others in bondage. How we hurt and maim and separate and ruin families just to get what we want. But then it comes to me, that question about why. And clear as day, the question about why I was beaten, the question about why I had to go into that frozen water to get the muskrat, the question about why I was whipped and scarred, the question about whether being a slave was right, all of these questions came back. And God said to me, when you were being lashed, it was to make you strong. Because you didn't know the journey that was ahead of you. When you had to walk into that cold water to get that trapped muskrat, I was making you ready for this war. When you would have to wade through the water. When you would have to save someone other than yourself, I was making you ready. So sometimes, when we're going through, sometimes, when things seem impossible, sometimes, when the road gets a little rough, making you ready for something bigger than yourself. There was everything that was bigger than me. Everything was bigger than me. It seemed like I had no chance. But I was walking a path, a journey that God set my foot on. And I didn't know it. So when things get rough, when you get weary, when what you're trying to accomplish seems daunting, don't give up. Hold on just a little while longer. And keep your hand on the plow. That was an old song that the slaves used to sing back in the day. Hold on just a little while longer and keep your hand on the plow, which means there's a work needs to be done. Now, some of you may not know what a plow is. But back then, the folks know what a plow was. And it was hard work when you had to turn over ground, sometimes with a weary mule. But you had to keep your hand on the plow, because if you didn't keep your hand on the plow would come up out the dirt and there would be no turning over. So keep your hand on the plow and hold on. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep them trimmed and burning, because you never know when you need to move on to another spot. Or you need to let somebody in. Hold that light up so somebody can get in. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning, because the time is drawing nigh. I've suffered a plenty. I've lost a plenty. But I'm still grateful because I'm still here. Let people remember you for the help that you give to somebody else. Hold on. Keep your lamp trimmed. Keep your lamp trimmed and burning. Keep your lamp trimmed and burning. Keep your lamp trimmed and burning. The time is drawing nigh. Children, don't get weary. Children, don't get weary. Children, don't get weary till your work is done. Oh, keep your lamp trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. The time is drawing nigh. Thank you for your hearing.